Welcome to Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. I'm Evan J. Cholfin from Luxhammer, where we help the brands that help you live healthier. Today I'm joined by Brian Ayers, CEO of Ayers Naturals, who's spreading wellness through performance herbs. Brian, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Evan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. So, what's the origin story behind the company? What's inspired its creation?
Well, we have two levels to it. The first is actually my grandmother. My grandmother did, elderly slip and fall. She fell down the steps, broke her hip, had to go into the hospital. When she went into the hospital, she was on two drugs. When she came out of the hospital, she was on 22 drugs. And it got to the point that she was taking more drugs than her body could handle. So she wasn't eating. And then hearing the doctor say, well, she can just eat whatever she wants. And I was like, well, at that point, I can't eat whatever I want. So how is she able to do that in this situation? And, we went and took a look at all of the different medications that she was taking and realized that they were doubling up on them. So we were able to get her off of 10 of those drugs. And she advocated for herself to make sure she was able to get off those 10 because sometimes they'll keep pushing them on you. And that led me to think that, hey, something is wrong here when they say, hey, take this drug. Well, that didn't work the way we wanted it to. Well, take another drug and keep taking the first one and then the second one. And you just have a diet of medications. Working at different places, also working at NIH, understanding what the process was for them to actually introduce a drug into the market and realizing there were some holes in there, started looking at performance herbs and things that would work. And over a course of time, just realizing that there was a huge gap with men in terms of our health, especially when we talk about our sexual health. It got relegated down to just, hey, take this pill and that's it. Understanding the mechanisms of how that pill worked, and like, hey, this is not healthy for you either. So it made me want to go even further into studying it. And just so happened that I was dating a young lady. She was from Liberia. And this is the second story. And we went to a party and there was a bottle and root in a bottle. And we said, hey, well, what is that? And he said, it's an aphrodisiac. I was like, okay, well, pour. And the next morning we are giving each other high fives in bed. Think we're on to something. And so that got us into the first story got me into paying attention to the herbal realm, and the second story got me into paying attention for men what the herbs can do. And often we say, when we talk about men and their sexual health, it becomes sort of carnal. But we always say that we're looking at the relationships, we're looking at the families, we're keeping families together. We're actually starting families. So pretty proud of the work that we do.
So, what makes your plant based approach unique in the supplement space?
Well, we always say you have to supplement the supplement with the things that you do. So we understand that there's a pattern. We have an actual formula. We call it the exponential energy formula. It is consisting of understanding your energy, what you're consuming, your sleep, your exercise, intermittent fasting, and soul, your stress levels, how you deal with the world. And we're able to not only recommend an herbal product, but then it's like, hey, let's look at these 5 different areas. Where can you improve? What has already broken down and what can we start improving? So we have a lot of situations where, for example, I was dealing with a younger man. He was 28, but he was noticing that his libido was slipping. He wasn't performing as well. And diving in and taking a look at what was going on, he was working overnight as a nurse. And so with that overnight schedule, it affects your testosterone production. It affects a lot of things. We're actually supposed to sleep at night, believe it or not. And because of that, it was actually causing him issues. And the World Health Organization actually says that working the night shift is a carcinogenic. And so I was explaining to him, of course, it's going to affect you. And, with men, we just happen to have an indicator stick, a health indicator stick in the middle of our bodies. And if that is starting to slip, that means that something else is wrong. For us, it's about, hey, here's the supplement, but it's also supposed to be about you being able to get off the supplement. We're not trying to sell you like a medication that you have to stay on.
Yeah, that's great. And what's the rationale behind that?
The rationale is that you're supposed to be able to live your life off of foods. We call ourselves plant-based medicines. And so if you're eating the right foods, then you don't need to worry about the supplements and everything like that. So they're here for you. And we have 250,000 plants on the planet that are edible, but we only use 4% of that. So we are all familiar with the cucumbers and the tomatoes, but there are plants all over the world that we're not using. And a lot of those can be used as herbs. And so we want to make sure people understand what is there for them so that they can get the best out of life. Dealing with older people as they get older and understanding the situations that they go through, a lot of times just misinformation. We often talk about, people who put themselves in a state of waiting to die because they don't understand there's a full life ahead of them. Even in your 60s, 70s, 80s, you can do a lot more with your life. But if you have it in your mindset that there's nothing left, yeah, just going to keep taking these medications until they stop working and then I'll pass. It's like, it's not a great way to live. Let's look for a different path.
Definitely. And you mentioned energy. Where are you focusing most of your energy in the business right
Believe it or not, the AI.
now?
AI is here. So, actually, we have something that's really incredible for us, and I'd like to offer this to your listeners. We actually have AI from me. So basically, I took all of the knowledge, the videos I've done. I have over 400 videos on YouTube, written 3 books, I've done video courses, and put that all into a knowledge base within AI. What I've done is now we set up a quiz. So you take the quiz, it's a good 15, 16 questions. And out of that, I'm able to send out emails. Well, not me, but my AI is able to send out emails, coaching emails. So it'll start breaking down, for example, obviously the difference between a 30-year-old and a 60-year-old in terms of what they need to pay attention to. Also, the difference between a person who works out often versus does not. Within those questions, there's an actual formula that comes out of that for that person. I do a lot of coaching, and it's always not always, it's typically one thing a person is missing. They may whether I was talking to a gentleman who was actually working out too much. He was saying, "Hey, I mean, this guy, I think he said it, I had to check it out, but yeah, it's true. He was the fastest 70-year-old on the planet." And so I had a chance to talk to him because he noticed that he was slipping in his performance and trying to figure out what was going on. We talked, and he was working out 6 days a week. And I was like, "Hey, you're getting older. We need for your rest to count just as much." And obviously, as fit as he is, he does more than I do on the fitness side of things. But on the biochemical side of things, that's what you need coaches for, to point out like this could be the issue. And the issue was that, working out 6 days a week, just dial it back a little. I know how guys get, I know how I get when working out. It's like, I got my routine. I don't want to stop. But you could put yourself as you age into a different bracket where you need to pay more attention to that rest, give your body that healing time. So it's little things like that. Well, that's sort of a big thing, but it's always, if it's that one key that you're missing, then you need to understand it and be able to address it properly. And that's what we do.
That's great. And you mentioned men, but maybe you could break it down a little more. Who's your ideal customer?
Typically, we're dealing with guys between the ages of 35 and 65. And the consistent customers are the gentlemen who are married or in relationships. And there are things that, we often talk to men, but we get women into the conversation as well. We call it the Valentine's Day effect. So if you think of Valentine's Day, now you have stress in terms of like, hey, typically you're supposed to perform that evening. And also during the day, you need to do the different traditional things like, oh, here's some chocolate and let's go out to dinner and a movie or something like that. So you got the chocolate, you got the stress, then you get the chocolate and you have a piece of chocolate. Well, sugar lowers your testosterone for a good half an hour. The older you are and the less testosterone you have, the more impact that has. And then you go out to eat. Well, what are you going to get? Your steak and lobster. So you got your steak and your lobster. Meat causes inflammation in your body. And so it also slows down your blood. You're going to get maybe an extra dessert, get the extra shock of sugar going in there. And also you got your potatoes, so you got the carbs going on there. All of this stuff is going on, and you may have a drink. And alcohol is a poison that just happens to make you feel woozy. So you have all of this going on, and then that night you're supposed to perform, and you just created this concoction that doesn't work. However, the issue is that this doesn't just happen on Valentine's Day. It just so happens we can, all relate to it. But getting a piece of chocolate during the middle of the day, yeah, I got a Snickers bar. Or I got a soda. Dealing with stress, that's a regular work day. And then eating different meats, that's just normal American fare. And then in the evening time, once again, you get your little drink on, and then you're supposed to perform. If this continues to happen at some point, you're not going to be able to perform the way that you want to. And so once people sort of understand that, once again, we're talking about a pattern. So if you understand your patterns, you correct the pattern, you get the right herbs to assist you, it actually speeds up the process. So it's supposed to help, not just be the only thing that you do.
So, in addition to energy, I understand that you also have sleep in terms of a product line. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
We have several different herbs, but like ashwagandha works very well for folks with it. Related to sleep, especially for men, because it helps with your testosterone, helps keep your cortisol low. And our sleep is very interesting now. We're living in a completely different time than just 100 years ago. Less than 100 years ago, there were parts of America that had no electricity at all. So people went to sleep as everyone went to sleep before that when it got dark because literally there's not much to do. You're not going to the nightclubs, you're not going to an arena, you're not going to anything. You're going to go to sleep because outside of wolves and lions. And so there was a thing, such thing as second sleep. There's literally Bible verses that people will read because you would wake up in the middle of the night. You go to sleep at the sun goes down at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You go to sleep. You wake back up middle of the night, read your Bible verses by candlelight, or have sex, and then you go back to sleep and you wake up again. We don't have that now at all, and so that's thrown off our testosterone production and things like that. When you right now more than ever, people need to understand their sleep and understand that there's herbs that can help with the sleep. Anything as common as chamomile tea, to things that are newer to most folks like ashwagandha, and having like a sleep mask on because when you close your eyes, light still comes through. And before that wasn't an issue because there wasn't any lights in your room, in your cabin. But now we have the TVs on or that one little blinky light that's over there. And that actually affects our what's called the third eye, the pineal gland, which is right here. And it's picking up that. And so it's not allowing you to go to sleep because it's like, hey, it's daytime. You're supposed to be up. So there are a lot of things that we're not taught, and they lead to us just living a life. I've gone through that whole process. It's like I did my Netflixing and Netflix, get different movies for hours at a time until like 4 o'clock a.m. and thinking that, okay, I can just, sleep and I'll be back. And it's like, well, yeah, you've lowered your testosterone levels and you also lowered your immune levels and you've also increased your cancer cells. So that's the reason why, as I mentioned before, working overnight is carcinogenic because you're not allowing your body to increase its immune systems. We all have cancer cells at all times, but it's not supposed to just keep ramping up because you don't get good sleep.
Yeah, well, sounds good that you have that product line.
Absolutely. We may go to the next one, which is like exercise. Our main product is called Goodwood. It is a formula for men made of 8 different herbs. We also have Goodwood Advanced, which is, we also include stinging nettle in that, which helps older men keep more of the testosterone because as we get older, our testosterone goes through a process called aromatase and it turns into estrogen. And that's the reason why you can go all the way up until your middle 30s and everything's okay. And then you start getting towards your 50s and things start dropping off precipitously. And so one of the reasons for that is because your testosterone is turning into estrogen. And so with this formula, Goodwood helps increase your testosterone and also increases your blood flow, especially to your genital regions. A Goodwood Advance does the same thing, but it also allows you to keep more of that testosterone for a longer time. We have a lot of guys, initially, we just thought of it as an aphrodisiac because it does work in that way. But because it increases your testosterone blood flow, we have a lot of guys who use it for their workouts because it increases your stamina. So you can, people go for jogs with it, they'll go to the gym, lift, etc.
Wow, that's cool. So, changing topics a little bit, what's been your biggest challenge in growing the business this year?
Woo! Well, this year, let's sort of combine it because it just affects everything. So, a lot of people think that when it comes to herbal products, it's not regulated. There are a lot of things that you have to do. You're talking about people consuming something. And so you have to have your certificate of analysis. So we have to make sure that everything that's in our product passes an inspection. When we have the different herbs come in, each herb goes through a test. Once the formula is made, our manufacturer, they do another test. And then once we have it, we actually have to, not for every batch, but we actually send it to a different testing facility and they do a test to make sure we don't have, especially when you're dealing with men's health, we don't have anything that's going to be like a Viagra type of drug in there because unfortunately that happens too much. And so in order for us to be able to sell on Amazon or Walmart or something like that, we have to have all of these different tests done. And so because it's this is sort of a new process, especially with Amazon. It was like a lot of different things that you have to go through, a lot of different hoops, which we're fine with going through that because it does cut out a lot of the bad actors in our business, but it is a pain. And also because we're talking about men's sexual health, there are a lot of different things that people don't want to just have pop up. So advertising becomes a lot more difficult in terms of just saying that this isn't the type of product that you can have showing in front of the kids during the middle of the day type of thing. So we have to be very specific when pinpointing in our target audience. And we also have to make sure that we're saying things in a way that people get the point, but at the same time, they understand that we're being judicious with our wording. Let's say it like that, to make sure that they understand what's going on, but they feel comfortable having this conversation. And I think that's also one of the big things over the years that we've noticed, that there's been a change. There's been a change because before people didn't want to talk about men's sexual health at all. Now, because there's less of a stigma, it's still there, but it's less of a stigma. We have people who understand that there's an actual problem. One of the things that we talk about often is how 40% of men over 40, 50% of men over 50, 60% of men over 60, 70% of men over 70 have an erection issue. Now, for a lot of people, that seems like, oh, erection, it's a joke. But it's like, well, no, we have people who are getting divorced. We have families falling apart. We have men who are dating women that they want to get together with, but because they have issues performing, they won't make a move. I've had a guy who he wouldn't get engaged until he got that taken care of. So we're not talking about just a man's part. We're talking about how it affects relationships, community, mental health. It's all there. And for some reason, just sort of obvious reasons, it's been held back, but we're looking to change that conversation so that it becomes a real thing to people. And one example I give is if you could imagine talking to a guy, it's like, hey, I noticed your arm is not moving. What's going on with your arm? I was like, oh, well, it's been like this for a little while. Like, what do you mean? Your arm's not moving? What's going on? Like, hey, you noticed it like 2 months ago, and a couple of days it just didn't work right. About 2 weeks ago, it just stopped working altogether. Everyone would freak out. It's like, go to the hospital. Your arm is not working. Well, for men, we have a private part. So no one knows about this not working. So no one's saying, hey, pay attention to the fact that this isn't working and this is a big problem. And if you can imagine someone who has full function of their arm and then suddenly they don't, the mental issues that you go through dealing with that, especially if you don't have anyone to talk to. Often I'm told this quite often, too often actually, that I'm the only person that guys have talked to about this situation. I've talked to guys who haven't had an erection for 20 years, and that's sort of scary. And I've talked to guys who didn't have an erection for a night, and they get scared. So it's like, is this permanent? What's going on? So it's a complicated issue, both from the physical standpoint, but also the conversational standpoint. And those are the type of issues we've dealt with the entire time. So we have both the legal, the health side of things, and also just the conversational side that's been problematic.
Yeah, how do you get people talking about it?
Actually, that's the interesting thing. Once I talk to guys one on one, I can't get them to shut up. They'll just keep letting me know, like, oh yeah, I'm like, that's a little bit too much. Actually, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. It's always good to listen and learn from the guys, but I've talked to groups of men, and so what tends to happen is you start the conversation. One guy will speak of some health issue, another guy will speak another health issue, and then it'll just start opening up because it's a real thing. Once because there isn't the conversation in general, when you're finally able to have that conversation, it becomes something you realize that everyone around the room is dealing with in some form or fashion. You do have the guys who say, oh yeah, I'm fine. Been out selling a book or something like that and talking to people, after hear guys like, oh, I don't need that book. I'm fine. I don't have any problems at all. And the wife is behind him like, 2 books. So just the bravado is there. But once they understand, it's like, oh, no, this is unfortunately too normal. It becomes a conversation because it's like, get better. And as I mentioned with the mental health side of things, this is not a mental health issue that you can just sit on the couch and have a conversation with someone. You actually have to physically do something to your body to repair this, because it's not like you can say, hey, You're not going to have an erection for the rest of your life. Get over it. And there's a reason why that happens, and you have to fix that reason because it's now if it's going to start affecting the rest of your body. It's often said as a weak erection, ED is the canary in the coal mine, and that if you don't get that taken care of, it's already showing that there's an issue. And there have been studies that show that men can end up with heart attacks because you haven't dealt with that issue.
So, in terms of when men are looking at different options out there, how do you differentiate yourself and stand out from, the pills and other options that are out there?
Typically, the people who we end up attracting are pill adverse. They've gone to the doctor and they're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be stuck on a pill for the rest of my life type of a situation. And so we're already attracting that group. And one of the things that we like doing is giving you as much information as possible, understanding even the history of the herb, and that there are a lot of herbs that do a lot of different things. There are different levels of an aphrodisiac, actually. So we're talking about one that can increase your blood flow, one that can increase your libido from a mental standpoint, one that's going to increase your sperm count. All of these things can affect you in different ways, and it depends on what your situation is. Some things that, there's a product called Sustanch that I'm actually allergic to. So you have to be aware of how to take the formula, what to do. So unfortunately, with our current medical situation, environment is typically, hey, you got 15 minutes to explain to your doctor what's going on and you're going to get a pill. That's that's it. Doctors are good at diagnosing if you have high blood pressure, if you have low testosterone. Actually, that's one of the things that for a lot of men, the doctors don't do. I think it should be almost a requirement that you have your testosterone checked and also have an explanation of what happens. So for men, your testosterone levels should be somewhere between 300 to 800 nanograms per deciliter. The higher your testosterone is, the healthier you are. The issue is that if you don't get an explanation, someone could say that, hey, your testosterone level is at 355. That's normal. And that's not normal if you're trying to have a healthy sex life, a healthy life period. Because once you go below 300, that's when you have a serious issue. And you shouldn't go through the process of waiting to get below that number for you to start looking to take care of that. And also understanding that, uh, part of it's genetics, part of it's just your environment. And just understanding that 20% of your physical makeup is your DNA. You becoming a full adult, your eye socket size is not going to change. The number of fingers isn't going to change. But in terms of your environment, I'm 5'10". I've been 5'10" and 180 pounds and 5'10", 280 pounds. That was pure environment. The 5'10" part didn't change. So this is the type of information that men need to know going into the doctors. Once again, they're great at diagnosing, but the medical system is like, here's the pill. Next person. We want to get guys to get away from that so they can have that healthy life that they deserve.
Yeah, definitely. Changing topics again a little bit. What are your main growth targets for 2025?
Our main growth targets, just to expand, we're expanding our lines. We started with good wood. And for those who want to check us out, is at givegoodwood.com. With Goodwood, we have our main formula. Just being a business person, it was like, hey, we have the greatest formula ever. We have the greatest everything. This is wonderful, which is true. But at the same time, there are so many different other herbs out there. And just learning about them myself, I was like, wow, this is really important that people understand that there's a lot of different solutions. So there are things such as black ant from out of China, Hornapo macho out of Peru. Obviously, there's maca, ashwagandha. There's a long list, Sustanch, which is also out of China. Genghis Khan is said to have used Sustanch, and that's the reason why there's a huge population that he sired, I guess you would say. And so we're looking to bring all of those in, and provide men with that. And also the other tools that you need. As I mentioned, the eye covers for sleep. There are weighted blankets. There's lip tape. There are a lot of different things that you can use for your health that's just going to help you in the long term, as well as just different exercises. So one of the main things that we're pushing now is air squats. And this has nothing to do with herbs, but it just has to do with just being healthier. So just the air squat, just standing up and sitting down, standing up, sitting down without a chair is great for your legs. You get the stem cells are being generated from your your thigh bone. It helps with your endurance, your stamina. It helps with your pelvic floor, which is great for your erections, and it's just great overall for your health, especially as men get older. One of the first things that will go is your leg strength. And that is one of the reasons why for men, especially, I often say this for women, get a little bit luckier in terms of when you're getting older, you don't have to work out. For men, you almost have to work out to stay healthy because men will do a slip and fall, break that hip, and we're talking about 6 months. And part of that is because we have that testosterone, we have more testosterone receptors in our heart than any other place in our body. So if your testosterone level is going down, then it's going to affect your heart. And if the lower part of your body, the biggest muscles aren't working, then everything in it, they start to atrophy and everything else starts to atrophy. Also, including your size will atrophy. So think about it. If you're looking at a 21-year-old male and the height of his health, and then you look at him again at 81, is there going to be a difference in size down there? Well, yes, that's atrophy along with everything else. You need to, for men, doing an air squat is a very simple thing. You always have the floor right there. Uh, Unless you're Wile E. Coyote and you're off the cliff somewhere, just stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. We had a challenge of having guys doing 500 air squats simply because that's what ancient warriors used to do. We call it warrior squats. Yeah, that's part of the differentiator with us in terms of like, hey, here's a piece of information that you may not have had, but it's just so simple to just stand up and sit down and, do that all day. When we first started this challenge, heard from guys who are like, oh, I got 3 kids. I work in a restaurant and just didn't have time to do any exercise. And I started doing that. The first time I could only do 15. And now I'm up to 50. And we have guys who have had, uh, what did he say? It's a titanium hip, gentleman with a titanium hip, and he was like, "Hey, I started doing this before I heard about this challenge, and I'm already at 80. But now you're saying I can do 500." And he started getting into it, and now he can do 200 at a time. So those type of things are what we look for to give guys as far as the information, so they can get healthier.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. And how are you currently acquiring most of your new customers?
YouTube. So yeah, right now we have, I just saw the number earlier today, 194,623 subscribers. And we put out videos, 3 videos a week. And it's a great thing for people to get to know, like, and trust you. We get a lot of great comments. I've been called a godsend. I wouldn't want to take it that far, but if I'm being used to help somebody, I have no problem with that. And like I said, we've saved lives, saved marriages, started marriages, created children. And so it's a wonderful thing. But for people, my persona online is Uncle B. Right now, you're getting Brian, but Uncle B is a little bit more boisterous and just straight talk. I'm not saying that everyone's my nephew, but I'll talk to you like I would talk to my nephew, which is, I love you, and I also don't care what you think. So I'm going to tell you to get yourself together. And sometimes it's just needed. As adults, we don't think of it this way. Give sugar as an example. We know that if you give a kid sugar, they're going to go crazy. They're like, ah. But as an adult, you have control of that. You not only do you have control of getting the sugar, you also have control of your body in terms of like, I can eat this candy bar and sit still. The issue is that inside of your body is still going, and so you're sitting still, especially as you get older. I've seen it personally, where older gentlemen will eat sugar and it almost seems like they're getting drunk. They have problems with their coordination, standing up. They start forgetting things. It's an amazing and scary thing to see. So for us, it's all about giving out that level of information so you can make the right choices as you go along.
Yeah, that's really important and great that you're doing that, getting that information. Uh,
Mhm.
awesome job on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, what's going to be crucial to get right in the business in the next year?
Product management. So we do want to offer as many different products as possible, like fenugreek, a long line of herbs. But obviously, we can't control the supply around the world because we ship all over the world, mainly in the United States. But we just had a situation with Portugal. Who knew? Portugal needs a long list of paperwork. And also, we have other suppliers that we're trying to work with, and we're just accustomed to, like, we get the order in, we're shipping out the same day or next day. And so we've tried to bundle with other suppliers, and it's like we get calls back from our customer, hey, I got my Goodwood, or got my Goodwood Advanced, and I'm still waiting for my Sustanch or my Guanapo Matcha. What's going on? And it's like, we're looking at suppliers, hey, what's going on? Getting control of that so we can, fulfill our goal. We're looking to be the Amazon of men's health, in terms of you just being able to go there, see the information, and get the product. As guys, we're not the greatest shoppers in the world. We just see something, we want it, we get it, type of thing, and we want to have that there for them, as well as the explanation of how you're supposed to use it, what combinations to use, what things to look out for. I'd rather tell a person not to use a particular herb, even if it's our good wood, than to have an issue. So if you're too weak for something, let's walk you through so you're healthy enough to take a particular herb, and maybe it's something that's a little bit, let me say, softer, but something that's going to help you move you along to the point where you can take something that's stronger. We have different protocols and just different ways of making sure people are able to take care of themselves.
So the Amazon of men's health, that sounds like a great legacy to create.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been a very tumultuous 25 years of doing this, but I always think of what I've learned, how I've been able to apply it to my life, and also just different friends of mine. I have a friend who has lupus, which is your white cells are attacking your own body. Men typically have that disease, but when men have it, it's still the same. It can be detrimental. It shortens your lifespan. But he has some amazing kids, and he wants to make sure he's around for them. And this past January, at the age of 59, he was told that they can't find any sign of it in his body. So that's something that's like, hey, did I cure somebody? I didn't do it. He did it because he put the work in, because it wasn't like one formula. It was his whole lifestyle, and what he paid attention to changed. So we've had guys with diabetes who no longer have diabetes because they didn't even believe or didn't know that you could get rid of diabetes. They thought it was for life, just like he was told that lupus was for life. So it's been an amazing journey in terms of being able to help people in the stories that they. If the legacy is that we got a bunch of healthy men running around, I'm good with that.
Well, I'm good with that too. Well, that's it for today's episode of Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. Thank you to Brian for sharing his insights and amazing work that you're doing to help people to live healthier, happier lives. If you enjoy this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could benefit. If your brand or business making an impact in health, wellness, or personal care, we'd love to help you grow. Connect with me at buckshammer.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep making a difference.